I'm Natasha Chilingarian.
I'm Michael Ogden. This is Shared Accounts with CU Times. Okay, I need some help from you two. I am looking for a new podcast listening racks. I'm in a rut and I'm just kind of sick of what I'm listening to a little bit. Natasha, producer Zach, do you have anything that you all are listening to that's any good that you could recommend to me and even the
Oh.
general public here?
Well, now that you ask it that way, I was
Well, I
thinking
don't know.
no, because I was like, well, what have I been listening to lately? Like, I don't think they would be anything you would be interested in, so maybe I should change my answer, but
Well, I mean,
they're
I'm
like
just
niche like interests that are
okay.
situations, but
Well, shoot, give them to me.
okay, I'll just give them anyway, and then I'll give another bonus one that's
Okay.
might be fun for you. So, well, one
Hmm.
that I've been listening to for like 5 or 6 years now is the Osterholm update. And so this is Dr. Michael Osterholm from CIDRAP, the Centers of Infectious Disease, and anyway, he's
Okay.
like a public health guy in Minnesota. And I've been listening to it lately. I started listening to it during like the COVID because it was like a good source
Hmm.
of good
Yeah.
information, like good like science-based information. And now he's talking about all the turmoil at the CDC and all
Sure.
that, which is like insane.
Is this guy
So
like at
yeah,
the Mayo Clinic or something?
he's at it's the
Because I'm
University of Minnesota.
okay,
So kind
University
of
of
your
Minnesota.
area, your neck of the woods.
Mhm. Well, Mayo
Yeah.
Clinic is just south of
No.
there,
Yeah.
so he
But
might
he's
be
also
connected.
been like an advisor for like every
Hmm.
political
Okay.
administration. Like he's
Yeah.
non-partisan, but he's like worked for.
I got to write
I've
this
been
down before we move off really quick. I got to write this down because this idea. So one, I'm writing down this podcast, but two, at some point, I need to tell you two on this podcast. I'm not going to tell you off a story about my grandfather and the
Mhm.
Mayo Clinic test he had to go through. He went through that had to do with John F. Kennedy. It's
Huh.
crazy, but
Tests like for what? That
I'm
he
not.
was going to work there or
I'll say it this way: he was in an experimental test because he
Oh,
was
oh.
dying,
Oh.
and I will leave it at that.
Okay, that
And it
sounds like a
has to do
really
with John F. Kennedy.
Okay.
There's my teaser.
Very
Okay, what's your other
okay.
podcast?
So I've only listened to one episode, but I have like it saved where I want to go back and listen to all of them when I have like a long car ride. It's called
Hmm.
Dinky. Do you know what a dink is?
I
Double
mean,
income, no kids.
Double income, no kids. Yeah.
yeah,
So it's these two women who are like child free by choice, and they just talk about
yeah.
all these different, have all these interviews and all these, issues they go over. They talk about, let's see, some previous episodes, the trad wives,
Mm.
regretful parents on Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I was maybe going to go again. You all have kids, so you probably can't
Yeah,
relate.
it's fine.
Another one I just throw out. I think
Yep.
I told you about this like a year or two ago. I stopped listening to it, but I was a pretty regular listener for a while. It's called Normal Gossip, and it's these hosts that they'll get sent a story about just some crazy drama like that happened in just some random person to like someone
Hmm.
like a whole story about like family drama or
Okay.
something with like a kids play group, a
Yeah.
group of Facebook parents or something, and then they'll read it to like a comedian and they'll get the comedian's reaction to the story, and it's just really funny. So
Okay.
that's
All
another
right.
one.
I'm writing it down.
Anyway, those are mine.
Zach, I wanted to ask you, but also Zach, thanks for jumping in so quick to translate dinky for me. I was like, I think I know it.
Yeah, if I sounded angry in my
No.
summary, it's because I felt like Natasha was mocking me.
No.
No, no.
She's not. Not at all. We get
Oh,
it. You're dealing
oh,
with a
because
toddler, man.
Oh yeah.
Zach, do you have any Rex?
So I have two. One is not for everyone, but
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of in the true crime vein, but has a very blue sense of humor with it. It's called Last
Good.
Podcast on the Left.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
It feels like your sense of humor. I don't think you'd be
Yeah.
offended by it, but
No.
it covers like true crime and cults and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that.
ooh, nice.
Yeah, not for everyone, but
I
I
know
really.
of that one. That one's been around for a while.
Oh yeah, it's been around since the like 2012 or it's been a
Mm-hmm.
while. To where they even did a shuffling of hosts. That's how long it's been around.
Yeah.
The other one is because I know you've mentioned David Lynch a few times.
Mm-hmm.
It's maybe not quite that level of writing, but Welcome to Night Vale
Hmm.
is a podcast, and it is completely presented through the narrative of a local radio DJ like delivering the news to the
Mm-hmm.
small town about all the weird stuff that's happening as though it's completely normal.
Okay. Is it Nightville?
Vale, Vale.
Vale. Okay.
Yeah, and that one's been around for a while too. That one's at like
I don't know that
at
one.
this point it's like 500 episodes and 3 books.
Jeez. Okay. Those were really good. So I'm going to read those again. I wrote them down. The Osterholm update from Natasha, Dinky, Normal Gossip podcast from Zach, Last Podcast on the Left, and Welcome to Night Vale. Okay. Thank you. My go-to podcasts, but I love them, but I just need a break from them sometime. They're all movie related. Mine are Blank Check with Griffin and David, Too Scary Didn't Watch,
Yep.
and then with Gorley and Rust. And I belong to the Patreon of all three of those too.
Yeah, I didn't feel like I could make a movie podcast recommendation to you since
no, it's okay.
you're the movie guy.
That's great.
Oh, yeah.
So one more thing to point out. I was doing a pro webcast for our subscribers as of this recording. It was yesterday, my God. Yesterday, and my guest asked me what industry podcast I'd recommend. I felt terrible because I did a long pause because I couldn't think of any I liked because they really kind of bore me a bit. But I did think of one. I remembered Patty Corkery
Oh, yeah.
with the Michigan Credit Union League has a very adorably sweet podcast that really lets her personality come through. So I would suggest that to people too, Patty Corkery's podcast. She's very, very nice. Also, I did say shared accounts.
Well, yeah.
So, hey, everybody. Speaking of that, welcome to Shared Accounts with CU Times. Coming up, we'll be chatting with Scott Simpson. He's currently CEO of California's credit unions, the Nevada Credit Union League, or now Nevada's credit unions and the Utah's credit unions. And he's a very good friend of the pod. We are fortunate for that. He's been on Shared Accounts twice before, but this time's different because Scott was recently named the new leader of America's credit unions. He's taken over from Jim Nussle, who is retiring. We were so excited to talk to Scott again, and we're bringing you this exclusive and very timely interview with Scott. But first, before we get to that, we got to take a break from this very, very busy week. We are recording on a Friday, which is weird. And let's check in with Natasha. Hey, Ann.
Hey, Em.
How are you holding up?
Okay, again, recording on a Friday, so it's like home stretch of the week. It's been a pretty crazy week.
Pretty crazy week.
Yeah, but I'm doing okay.
Good. Let's get right to it. What did you watch this past week?
So yeah, because I'm talking about the podcast, which is so like almost personal. I feel like but
Yeah, but see, I love that. I love those answers because it is personal and also
it's revealing about
exactly.
Like I feel like if you asked everyone what podcast they listen to, it might be revealing of like some things. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure there's some even more weird or niche podcasts out there I don't know about. But
Yeah.
anyways, as far as what I've watched, I'm gonna bring up a couple of true crime related things that I really enjoyed. And that's all I've really been watching the past few weeks is just, and then I'm like, what was that about? And I don't even remember because all the stories just sound the same after a while, like a Dateline. It's like
crime.
And every time you watch something, you're like halfway through, I'll be like, oh, I already know this story. Like, oh, suddenly you remember that person that was interviewed so it's hard to find even new stories when you watch so much of it.
Okay.
But one that was really good it's on Hulu called Mr. and Mrs. Murder, and it's a docuseries, and it's just a really juicy, it's about a group of like 4 friends from Tallahassee, Florida, that like, it was like two couples that like were both high school sweethearts and then got married, and then like the 4 of them were like best friends. And then one of them apparently dies in a hunting accident, disappears and drowns. But then there's a lot of twists and turns afterwards involving like affairs and religion. And anyway, it's very juicy. So I highly recommend that one. It's a good one. Mr. and Mrs. Murder.
Okay.
I also just started, this one is not a docuseries, it's a scripted series, but it's the Twisted Tale of Amanda Knox. So it's an actual, and it's really well done. I'm really enjoying it. And it's great. There's only been 3 episodes, so they're coming out with a new episode each week. But that I am like fully enjoying, because I remember when that happened, like vaguely, but I
Yeah.
don't think I dove into the whole, like, how it actually, I think she was in prison for a long time in
For a
Italy.
bit, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I was like, oh, I'm all in on this. So that's my other one that I'm into right now.
I like that a lot. Can I tell
Yeah.
you what I'm Googling right now?
Yes.
You were talking about Mr. and Mrs. Murder. I'm trying to find out if anybody has the last name of Murder.
Oh God, I hope not. That would be
And
pretty.
it has to exist, right? But I'm not
You know
finding
what's so
anything.
ironic about you mentioning that?
Uh-huh.
So last night I was watching a Dateline,
Uh-huh.
and they were interviewing. It was it was like a cold case, and this detective they brought on who like ended up like solving the case later on, and his last name was Slaughter. I'm
Ew.
like, that's a really weird
You know
last name
what?
for a homicide
Yeah,
investigator.
I agree.
Yeah.
I can't find it. Well, anyway,
Well,
people do some research. There has to be a Mr. and Mrs. Murder out there in real life. But I'm
that'd be
not
weird.
finding anyone.
Anyway.
Okay, I'll move on.
Anyway, okay. What
All right.
about you?
I
So,
watched a terrible movie that I have to tell people about to not watch.
okay. Yeah. PSA.
So this is a not recommend unless you love a really dumb movie. And it was disappointingly stupid and bad.
Okay.
Came out earlier this year, called Wolfman.
Oh, okay.
Wolfman.
I did see that up there, but I did not
Yeah,
watch.
Julia Garner's in there, who I really love
Oh,
as
yeah.
an actor.
Yeah, yeah.
But the story was so stupid and
Huh.
so poorly pulled off. Don't watch it.
That's terrible.
Michael, can I hop
It was
in for a second?
please, yeah.
It's amazing to me that it seems like every 10 to 15 years they do a Wolfman movie, and it is
Yep.
always one of the worst movies of the year, because about 10-ish years ago they made one with Benicio del Toro, and I would have said the exact same thing, that it was one of the
Oh, wow.
worst movies I
I
saw that year.
forgot about that one. That was a stinker
Yeah, it's
too.
just like every 10, 15, 20
Huh.
years Hollywood makes a Wolfman movie, and it's terrible.
Yeah, American Werewolf in London, really probably the last good one. I don't know. That was a great one
Wow.
though.
I wonder, maybe that's intentional. Maybe a Wolfman movie just has to be bad. Maybe that's part of the,
We need
but
to
maybe
stop
that could
this
be a challenge for
anti-Wolfman
someone to make
propaganda.
it.
Yeah. Well, I
I
gave it
don't know.
1.5 stars. It was terrible.
Ugh.
So
Okay.
don't
Well,
watch it.
do not watch. Got it. Yeah.
Wolfman.
I wasn't going to. Anyway, I did see it and I was like, I mean, but I did see, again, Julia Garner. She was great in so many other things.
The Americans
Ozark.
and Ozark,
Uh,
she's great.
yeah. She's also in the, oh gosh, I don't know what the name was, but it was about that fake heiress, Anna Delvey, who like pretended
Oh
to
yeah,
be a
who was
like rich heiress,
in
socialite,
prison.
and
Yeah.
went to prison. She played her in a
Hmm.
series. I thought that was,
Yeah, I forgot about
yeah, I
that.
enjoyed that one too.
Yeah,
That's too bad. That's too bad, but okay.
it was
You got to watch it. You got to, hopefully next pod you'll have like another really good one. I know your last good one was Sinners, so I still
it
have
was
yet to
so
watch
good.
it. I know.
So good.
Maybe this weekend will be the weekend, because it's,
So good.
yeah, I try to do my movie watching on the weekend, so
Yeah,
hopefully
let me know when
get to it.
you do.
Yep, definitely. All right, well, let's move on. We were so excited for this interview with Scott because,
Oh yeah.
as you said, we've had him on twice before, and he has been great. Then we found out, oh my gosh, he is going to be the next CEO of America's Credit Union. So
Hmm.
we reached out right away. We actually didn't expect him to have time. I mean, how crazy
Hmm.
things are for him, but we were pleasantly surprised and like, all right, we get to talk to him. And yeah, again, wonderful interview.
Yeah.
Also, I just love how like sincere he is and how
Hmm.
open. And so I'm looking forward to, hopefully continuing that relationship with him as he's leading America's
Yeah.
credit
Me too.
unions. And
Me too.
yeah, a couple of things we touched on here just to tease the interview out. We'll get right to it. His take on the Harper Oetska lawsuit. Really appreciated. He had a really
Hmm.
thoughtful response about that whole situation, which is huge right now.
Right.
Talks about one. I actually wrote down this quote that really struck me when he talks about kind of the challenges facing the credit union movement. He said, "We are wildly outsourced by those who would like to see us go away."
Yeah.
And that was, I found, a very striking and kind of sad quote, but then goes on to talk about the strong ground game that the
Hmm.
credit union movement has to kind of overcome that. And then, of course, touched on some lighter topics. Moving to DC, he's going to be going to DC full time.
Yeah.
Yeah, he talks about, among many things, of course, one popular topic on the pod is favorite foods. So he talks about some specific food items and restaurants he's most looking forward to when he's back in DC. So some
Yep.
good recommendations for all of you out there. We have all of that coming up next. Joining us in the virtual studio today is Scott Simpson. He is the incoming CEO of America's Credit Unions. Hey, Scott, welcome back once again. Gosh, it's your third time on the show now. So welcome back again to Shared Accounts.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
I thought we were
Absolutely.
just hopping on with you just because we like Scott. I didn't realize he had a new job.
Well,
That's
he
news to
absolutely
me.
does. Yeah, and
I'm
I want to
kidding.
say,
I'm joking.
well, thank you so much, Scott, for joining us. I know you're probably just crazy busy and in demand right now with the exciting news of your appointment to America's Credit Union. So thank you. Really appreciate you taking the time. Yeah, so first I just want to say congratulations. We heard the news. We were super excited for you because you're a friend of ours. You've been on the pod several times. So yeah, congratulations. Yeah, well, I mean, what's it been like for you just in general these past few weeks after you found out the big news?
Well, it is crazy. Part of it seems unreal because my
Yeah.
job that I have today is incredibly busy. And you know this. I think anybody who knows me knows that I already have well-documented attention span challenges. The jobs sort of do that in the association space. And then to add the America's Credit Unions thing to that. And I mean, there's so many gracious notes, but a lot of pressure. You can
I'm
feel,
sure, yeah.
you feel the weight of this job for sure.
I'm sure. Yeah. We'll ask you a little bit later about kind of how you're juggling right now, like your current
Sure.
job and then preparing for this new job. But I guess just what was it about this new huge role that interested you and made you want to go up for it? And we're also really curious if you could possibly share anything about like the selection process and what that was like that you went through.
Sure. I thought the job that I was in right now was going to be my last job. I had sort of prepared for that, and we were doing exciting things. We continue to do exciting things, and it's a large organizational transformation as well as trying to keep three different leagues moving forward, with the imperatives that they have today to stay engaged with their local legislatures, policymaking, and operational support for the credit union. So that was invigorating, exciting. The teams are awesome to work for.
Yeah.
And I initially, I got a survey from Korn Ferry, like a lot of other people in the industry, sort of a stakeholder research that they were doing on the position. And there was a slot in there for me to put my name, and I didn't put my name on it. I filled it out and did my very best. And yeah, I had a couple of friends in the industry that had sent me a note and said they had put my name on, and asked if that was okay. And I didn't actively discourage anybody or try to steer that. But at some point I was asked to submit a resume by the recruiter.
Okay.
And so and that was, earlier in the process. And I chewed on that for a while and then decided, yeah, this is an opportunity that doesn't come by and likely won't come by in my career window. And I care deeply. I've spent 22 years defending the credit union business model in what I would describe as one of the most hostile anti-credit union legislative environments in the country.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
And just I'm fiercely devoted to it. And I love the credit union family, all of it. The leagues, the engagement at the national level, the partners that come along to support, credit union operations, and all of it is filled with so much passion. And I sort of view this moment as somewhat fragile. It always is, but in particular, this moment we're still in the middle of a Congress that had given serious consideration to the tax exemption
Sure.
that was critical to the business model. And so all of those things sort of coming together served as motivation to try to scoot closer to the table instead of further away.
Can I ask you about when you found out? I want to ask this in two parts. When you found out you were selected, what was your reaction? And then what was your family's reaction?
That's a great question. So my initial reaction, and I continue to have sort of these moments, but
Of course.
my initial reaction was, in fact, I think I said it. Karen Harbin, whom you know, was leading the search committee. She's the one that called, and there were other committee members on the call, and they said, "It's you." And I said, "What?" It was, so a measure of surprise. And I made some joke about losing leg strength. But, it's there's this sort of surreal sort of mathematical equation that starts to form in your mind when big things happen in your life. And so yeah, I was wrapping my mind around all that and trying to, stay on the phone call and answer some important questions.
Yeah.
So that was very gracious, and but yeah, it just kind of exciting, invigorating, overwhelming, all of the things that you would imagine. And then I had this follow-up conversation. I called my wife. She's as much she has as much to do with my capability today as anybody, and a tender conversation with her. And it means, this is a thing that impacts our whole family. And so that kind of cascaded through the family. It was everybody's thrilled for us. We have 3 daughters. All 3 daughters are up and out. They're married and live in different places. We have 5 grandchildren, and I suspect for my wife and I, that's the biggest thing. I mean, everything else is things. It's the people that are adjusting to is sort of the challenge. And so, all good. Everybody's excited. We walk around neighborhoods, and every time we see the faces of our neighbors, we mourn a little of what that change means. But it's forward leaning. And we lived in DC when I worked in the Senate, and Samantha loved DC, and we're excited about that.
Okay, we're going to talk about DC here in a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Scott, it sounds like you're sort of still processing this huge change that's coming up. But is it too early to ask you to describe what your vision is for America's credit unions as the next leader? I mean, maybe this is probably things that came up during the interview process. But what would you say is your overall initial vision and kind of what you'll be bringing to the organization that's unique?
Sure. I don't know that it's unique. I think it's probably shared, but I think there's as much sort of present state observation as there is vision over the horizon. I think they're deeply related. It's the view of the ecosystem in which we're called upon to defend and try to enhance the credit union operating environment. And I've got some charts and graphs to back this up, but we are wildly out-resourced economically by those who would just as soon see us go away. We are massively out-resourced. And so, as I go through those data points and look at, what's the lobbying spend in Washington, D.C. in the retail financial services space? What's the campaign contributions that can be attributed to the bank ecosystem relative to the credit union ecosystem? All of those things, if you contemplate that, you can see the sort of David in the David and Goliath story position that we have. And so I asked myself the question, looking at Don't Tax My Credit Unions, based on being wildly out-resourced by the machine there. And the question is, why are we not dead? How did credit unions survive the budget reconciliation bill? And it's no secret. It's because we have a ground game. We're diffuse. We reach into every congressional district in the country, and we've got powerful brand identity in our credit unions that extends all the way to their membership. The membership love the fact that they've got access to their credit unions. And it just so happens that those members, many of them are registered voters, and policymakers care about that. And it's that stirring of the electorate, essentially our membership, and that machinery is what I deeply care about. And I want to make sure that that footprint in America is not fiction, that it actually, we call it a movement. I want to make sure that it can and will move.
Yeah.
And in all that means, that means engaging credit union CEOs and boards and having them understand the absolute potency of the brand equity that each of them hold in their communities, and that we respect that and will not abuse that brand equity for sport, but when it really counts in defending their existence. And that requires incredible communication. And so in answer to your question, it's about all of that stuff, but primarily, getting to that, what I think is the organizational imperative, the essential reason that the association exists today. There are a lot of ecosystem related things that are, about keeping the family together and helping credit unions of every kind move and be successful in their space. All of that stuff's connected, but it's that focus on the organizational imperative, defining the essential and running every decision through that filter, is sort of my vision.
This isn't the last time I'm going to say this, but I'm very excited for your voice and ideas to get amplified. Honestly,
Oh, well,
I'm excited for your tone.
thank you.
And I want to ask, kind of moving on down the road and in kind of your day to day that you're existing in right now. How are you juggling Utah, Nevada, California, and then simultaneously preparing for this move?
You've seen those. Juggling is a great metaphor. You've seen those jugglers on TV that are already impossibly holding, 4 or 5 balls or bowling pins in the air, and then somebody
Right.
throws something at them.
Here's a chainsaw.
Exactly. It's absolutely what it feels like to me. The great news is in the project that we're working on across the 3 leagues, we've got an unbelievable team, and they have taken up the vision with passion and capability that's awesome. And their credit unions can see it and they're excited about it. So that's great. My personal calendar and requirements are, as you imagine, kind of ridiculous and unsustainable at the moment. But I think, my dad used to tell me when I was a kid that, he went on this youthful mission when he was a kid for 2 years. And a farmer said to him, when he was expressing concern about it, the farmer said, well, his name's Max. He said, Max, you could stand on your head for 2 years, essentially saying you can do anything, just go do it. And that's kind of where we are right now. It's a season. We know where the changes will happen, and I can stand on my head for a couple of months and go through this.
Beautifully put.
Yeah. Right. It's temporary too. You have to think of that. But okay, well, while we're still talking about your current role with the 3 leagues, we just wanted to ask you really quick because we learned that they all recently rebranded. So now they're identified now as California's credit unions, Utah's credit unions, and Nevada's credit unions. We were just curious, what was the intention behind this rebranding effort? And I'm wondering, does that mean is there any operational difference in how the leagues will, or is that just purely a branding name change?
It's a little more than cosmetics.
Okay.
And if I could recast your question just a little bit, because part of it's factual and part of it is older news. So,
okay. Yeah, please correct me. Yeah, if I'm wrong.
Yeah, the most recent news is the California Credit Union League has got a public-facing brand now called California's Credit Unions. That's their public brand, California's Credit Unions. And there's a reason behind each of these things, but I'll just speak in terms of the timeline. Nevada's credit unions rebranded earlier this year, would have been January, February, March, somewhere in there.
Okay.
Both organizations had not had a brand refresh or even kind of a corporate ID look for decades. And so there was kind of a desire to take a look at that. And for Nevada in particular, one of the things we're doing here is trying, and you've talked about this on the show, this will be a nice place for a hyperlink that you can put in your show notes back to that other show. But we're professing independence. Each of these leagues are independent organizations. And so that was sort of the excitement that caused the Nevada board to rebrand back then. And then California team was like, and this was really staff driven. It wasn't a board driven in California, but the staff was like, we could use a brand refresh. Let's think through this. And, if it's logo, is it name? What does it matter? And then also on the timeline is Utah. And what's interesting is the Utah League changed its brand back in 2012, 2014, the Utah's credit unions. They've been that for, before America's Credit Unions was America's Credit Unions, Utah's credit unions. And I think it was probably the first one to sort of claim that nomenclature, that phrase, and we'd actually, for some reason, and I did this, but I can't remember why, we had grabbed the domain name Utah's Credit Unions in 2004.
Whoa.
In the first year that I was here.
Okay.
Wow.
We were in the middle of nuclear war with the banks. I also retained the domain name bankerspank.org and lots of other things too. So so trying to figure out how to message to the marketplace of both poking the banks in the eye who were trying to, kill us at the time. Anyway, we had grabbed Utah's creditunions.org back then, rebranded in 2012, 2014, somewhere in there, and have been operating that way in Utah since. And the reason we did that, and it's the same reason California ultimately arrived at that decision, is we love what it says. It's about, we don't exist as an entity. for any other purpose but to defend credit unions, to protect and help them. And our outward facing brand should say that. Our existence is not about us, about our own individual entity. It's about them. We're a membership organization, and everything from our brand to our work should sort of describe and complete the sentence. When I started in Utah, we had a sentence. It was the Utah League of Credit Unions, which is a sentence, which is not a great idea for a business. But yeah, we wanted to make this absolutely intuitive to the policymaker who we were and what we did. And our names now say we are all of these credit unions.
Yeah.
It's inclusive, and I think it describes power and unity, and it's a claim. It like describes us standing shoulder to shoulder. And so ultimately that's it. And each of those leagues made their decision on their own.
Oh.
Okay. Now, I want to move on to kind of this last few questions here, Scott. We're going to get into some America's credit union focused issues that we've been reporting on, that are in the news and all of that. First one we wanted to ask you about is the Todd Harper, Tanya Otska situation with the NCUA board. America's credit unions has consistently shown support for a 3-person NCUA board. I've talked to Jim Nussel about it, Kerry Hunt, the whole gang. Well, Kerry Hunt's not there anymore, but you get what I mean. But they haven't been specifically supporting the reinstatement of Harper and Otska. Do you have a particular stance on this issue that's happening, and what do you hope to see happen as a result of this lawsuit?
I'm not in a position to speak for America's credit union, so I should probably state that right now. I recognize that I'm pretty close to that, but this is my view of their position, which I don't think is too far from my observation. And the truth is, trade associations don't get to pick who sits on that board. We don't. It's the President of the United States with the advice and consent of the United States Senate. That's who gets to decide. And so I think it's perfectly consistent with that reality for the association and our industry to sort of take that position. Now, we would love to pick board members if we could. That's not to suggest that wouldn't be absolutely euphoric for the industry, but that's not the way it works. And so I think drawing that line between the power of this board, and it would be, I think, irresponsible for us to claim anything other than that. So I think the America's credit union's position is reasoned on that very line. Now, I understand why former Chairman Harper and board member Otska would be interested in having as much support as they could have from the industry, but people who carry the banner for an entire industry have to be responsible with the use of that banner, right?
Yeah.
So all of those things are brought to bear here. Obviously, without question, and I think the National Association has declared this, that we absolutely, I think, uniformly support our own regulator, and we want it to be fully functional and all of those things. So I think we're in a reasoned position, and I personally support that position.
Okay. Yeah, we're just looking at this is going to keep dragging on, and we don't know how long Houtman's going to hang around.
Sure.
We really have no idea. We're hearing word of potential names being floated around, board replacements, but we don't know. We also, like you, we want this to function because not a lot's happening.
Yeah.
The credit union rumor mill, I should have brought this up because, your question earlier about the process for me and the selection. I honestly, and to this date, have no idea. I genuinely have no idea who the other final candidates might have been.
Oh.
And that's the absolute truth.
Yeah.
I wasn't named as a finalist until like a week before, at some stage it was announced to the public.
Mm-hmm.
I think the rumor mill is fun. It's an adventure for all of us to try to figure out, but I really think that it has the high probability of being inaccurate. And
100%.
And so that's obvious for everybody that's involved. Sure. But we spend a lot of energy in our industry on the grapevine, and it's not particularly useful or healthy exercise. It may make us feel better, especially in this season of uncertainty.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Right.
Thank you for that.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for that. And I can just say, just real quick to wrap up the NCUA topic, I think the functioning is kind of at the crux of what matters for credit unions.
Yes,
And so I guess we
absolutely.
see just all this uncertainty and, they were back on the board for one day and then they're gone the next day. It's like, well, what kind of harm might this be causing to just the ability of the agency to function and, be there for the benefit of credit unions. So yeah, hopefully it'll get wrapped up. It's a little concerning. Okay, so another topic here, a little less political, I suppose. So, with many small credit unions struggling to stay afloat right now, that's obviously a topic here is just the sustainability of small credit unions. A lot of them are ending up being merged into larger credit unions. I was just curious, Scott, kind of what your approach might be at America's Credit Unions to help support small credit unions and anything you have in mind that you might do differently or get behind in that area.
I have lots to learn about this from a national perspective, but I can give you my sort of state specific retail perspective.
hmm
It is, I think, gathering that family is where I've seen some of the most amazing strength and support in the credit union space. We just came off of a conference we held in Anaheim last weekend was Shapiro Summit. That's the one.
Oh, yeah.
One of the founding fathers of the California credit union movement is a
hmm
guy named Leo Shapiro, and they named their small credit union organization after that. It's fantastic. And the Utah credit union family has an organization called the Quantum Group. They didn't want to use the word small to describe who they were. They prefer I presume
Sure.
that's why the Californians looked for another name. It's just that the founding father of Utah's credit unions was named Carl Little. And so naming it after
No,
Carl Little wouldn't have been helpful.
that's just unfortunate. Yeah.
Yeah, but they are mighty, and we actually a number of the Utah folks were in Anaheim with them, and watching them engage one another. I've seen it before. Is they're it was a powerful exchange of support. We were there obviously with what you would expect, partners in the room, educational offerings, all of the things to kind of help move them along, but finding the ways to convene them, because when they do, powerful things happen. That's what I've seen. So that's what I'll be exploring and making sure we're suited for. I think, there's America's credit unions in the kind of post-transformation world has the opportunity and ability to continue to iterate on that.
hmm
And in fact, America's credit union staff was at that event, and we've been engaging with that team
Okay.
for a long time. So that's exciting. And there are a couple of other things like what is the definition of a small credit union? I think is something that needs to be explored because
Agree.
it varies by market. In California, small credit union, we're defining somewhere in the just below $300 million category.
Yeah, right.
In Utah, that's a different thing. And I understand that America's Credit Unions defines it at 50 million. And there are support consequences to that definition. And
Yep.
so those are conversations that just need to be had and observed. And I think that will at some point help. And then listening, I've got a call with a small credit union CEO who reached out via the social space. And I was able to kind of grab onto that, and we've got a call next week. I want to hear what he has to say. And obviously a lot of great friends that run credit unions of every size and just that sort of accessibility. And I think, I've got 22 years watching what the environment, how that lays down on top of small credit unions. That's in my bones now. And I bring that. I hope to be just a resource and a tool in their hands moving forward.
Can I ask you a quick legislative question? With the recent passage of the Genius Act concerning stablecoins, White House's action plan on AI, how are you looking at that particular situation to ensure future legislation related to AI and all those things helps credit unions? Are you thinking about that right now?
Oh, sure. It's disruptive innovation, right? I mean, those are
Mhm.
Harvard Business School theories
Yeah.
that are at play in our lives, and our credit unions deal with it every day, trying to maintain their relevance in the space. So I don't know that anybody knows exactly how profess to know that stable coins might be the thing, but we've also worried about distributed ledger technology, just a couple of years ago, and we formed a bunch of working groups and task forces around it. And there was going to be something after stablecoin that we'll have to worry about. And we just have to be nimble, and we've got to rapidly find the expertise and distribute it as quickly as possible to the credit union families so that they can bring their worries and concerns to that conversation. And we're already hearing that, from a national association perspective. I've had people trying to make sure that it's in my windshield right now, but I didn't necessarily need that because the credit unions in my current job are already, speaking to that. And I think the big concern right now is there's rulemaking coming down through the NCUA that doesn't necessarily match the regulatory scheme that other depositories and institutions are working through. And there's some specific limitations. And we've got an obligation as an industry to make sure that the NCUA understands that lawmakers understand that, and where fixes should be made, that we get them made.
Okay.
That's kind of where my head is right now.
I look forward to watching what comes out of America's credit unions on this with you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And just so you know, our latest podcast episode that came out, we have a stablecoin expert from Fiserv, if anyone is interested in getting a whole 101 on what that is, what it is, and what it means.
Oh, yeah. He's like 4-year-old knows what stablecoin is. It's really funny.
Yeah, he's this real, techie guy.
I can tell you, I'll just jump in. Thank you for your platform, because it is, you guys create and promote such thoughtful stuff that it helps. It helps me.
Thank you.
It helps the ecosystem, the family sort of see over the horizon. So thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you. Okay. No, appreciate
Very
that.
nice.
Hope to keep living up to it if we can going forward. Okay, final question here before we move on to part 2. We touched on this briefly earlier, the tax status for credit unions. So obviously earlier this year, there was, sort of quite a threat to it, but it was saved, and things seem to be stable now. Obviously, though, it's not guaranteed 100% that it's going to be intact, or there won't be any future threats to the tax status. So we're just curious, how will you be approaching, ensuring that credit unions will continue to fight back against, especially bankers' attacks on the tax status, and ensuring that it remains intact?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is to make sure that our movement can and will move when needed, because we've already learned, and we just barely touched it. We have an overwhelming army of defenders in this country. We sent 800,000 contacts to Capitol Hill. There was one credit union that sent 200,000 of those. One credit union. If everybody was able to motivate at that same rate, we should have had 17 million contacts go to Capitol Hill on taxation. So, and I am interested in things like the survival of the movement, carpet bombing Capitol Hill, and that's a metaphor. I'm not a literal threat to Capitol Hill, but, actually bringing the full weight of the undeniable will of our membership to policymakers is the ultimate goal. Now, we have to be careful with how and when we ask for that strength, but making sure that we equip our credit unions with political and policy intelligence, but primarily political intelligence is one thing that I want to focus on. Being able to and having all of the machinery and tools in place to activate the membership, to empower our credit unions so that they've got the fluency around the political realities of them engaging their membership is, I think, a critical function for the national trade. And we obviously have to do that in conjunction with our leagues, because they're this critical component, that they're the sinew of the government advocacy machinery that holds all of this together.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, yeah, we look forward to seeing how the strategy evolves once you take the helm officially. But let's move on to part 2. Move on to some lighter, fun topics. Give our brains a bit of a break here.
Yeah.
This is, again, all about you, Scott. First, wanted to go back to, so it sounds like because you are living in Utah right now, correct? That's your...
California. I've as much time in California but I do have a home in Utah as well.
Okay. But so it sounds like you will be making a official move back to DC. Yes. Okay. Mm-hmm. So have you found a place yet, is my first question.
Have not found a place. We have eliminated some places, but we
Okay.
have not
Okay.
found a place.
Oh, that's the easy part,
Okay.
is
Yeah,
eliminated.
we
Yeah.
lived in DC, and I did the Beltway commute, sort of Northern Virginia
Yeah.
Beltway commute, and that's got its own sort of emotional price that I don't think I'll have the bandwidth to pay again,
Right.
and so
Okay.
we're devoted to simple. So I think my
Good.
life is going to be Capitol Hill, the office,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
airport, and so I
Yeah.
think
Well, it has.
everybody
Yeah.
will be able to see the neighborhoods I'm looking at based on that.
So, yeah, and I love that theme, simple. I imagine your wife loves that too. You have lived in DC. When was it, and for how long did you live there?
That's 24 years ago, and it was
Wow.
a year. It happened to be that over 9/11 and the anthrax attack.
Oh wow. Oh wow.
Okay.
I worked
Yeah.
for Orrin Hatch, senior
Hmm.
advisor in his
Yeah,
office,
yeah.
and it was an interesting
Wow.
time to be there.
God, I bet. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure this next move is going to be a totally different experience of DC, especially with the time that's passed.
Indeed.
Yeah, but yeah, I was curious, just looking at like the lifestyle in DC. I'm sure there's things about it, it has its own energy with the politics and it's got its own vibe in DC. Are there any like aspects of just that DC lifestyle that you're looking forward to or anything special I don't know, a certain restaurant that you're excited to go back to or anything like aside from the work side of it, is there anything about DC as a city that you're excited about?
Well, I could go down, one of two forks. There's the sort of the personal impact, and then there's the
Hmm.
professional impact. The personal impact, heck yes, the food.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know if you've had the homemade Pop Tarts at Ted's Bulletin.
Oh, no. Oh.
Totally worth the price of admission. They also have a peanut butter bacon burger there that's
Hmm.
Ooh.
so so irresponsible from a nutritional perspective, but
I'm sure, yeah.
delicious. Yeah, the restaurant scene is crazy and awesome. The fact that my wife and I every weekend could make a choice to go to some museum for a decade
Yeah.
and probably not hit them all. You're within a couple of hours of some of the greatest cities in the world, and
Mhm.
just so that's fantastic. That's all very, very exciting, and the ability to bring that to our grandchildren when they come visit us
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
also something cool to think through. From a professional perspective, it also is related to the reality of kind of the restaurant scene. Is DC is fake. Like
Mm.
Ah!
it's like living on a movie set.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean, it's real and it's awesome and it represents so many great things, but it's because government is there. And it's that I call it a fake economy because, it's essentially supported by the spending accounts that advocates get to use from a billion types of industries get to
Mhm.
use when they come back and gather and try to talk to Congress. And that fuels some of the great things about that city that we'll be able to take advantage of. But because it's fake, and I say that with kindness because I realize
Yeah.
that sounds horrible. It also creates a weird bias, I think, professionally.
Yeah.
And you can lose sight of the fact in that city that the rest of America isn't like that. And that I think if I allow that to happen, it's the same thing
Yeah.
policymakers can allow that to happen. And I kind of refer to it as barnacle. You can let barnacle grow on you while you're
Yeah.
there if you're not careful. And I just don't want to be consumed by that.
Right.
And then here's my last sort of DC thing.
Okay.
And the day that I was interviewed, final interview, I went for a run. And by the time and I'm not the paragon of human fitness. Like, I'm not a runner. But I had this nervous energy and I'm like, I'm going to go out on a run. Well, I get back and look at my watch and I had been on a 5-mile run. And anybody who's walked the mall has been through the same thing. You're like, holy cats, this is bigger than I thought it was, right?
Yeah.
I sort of had this aha moment after my run that, man, the mall, the city is bigger than I thought it was. And then I paused for a minute and thought, oh, don't ever forget it. Like the work that I've got to do to represent America's credit unions is occurring in a place that is big and the machinery is big. And I can't lose sight of that in this job. And so I know that was a scattered answer, but that's
I
my
loved
view.
it.
No.
I love that you got that perspective. I love when that happens.
Yeah.
And I think it's very well put. Also,
By the
holy,
way,
yeah.
yeah. By the way, I came to all of that realization while my heart was beating in my eyeballs because I had just run, 5 miles.
Also, I've never heard the term "holy cats," and that might be the title of this episode. I don't know.
I like it.
I
Yeah,
do
start
too.
using that.
Okay, Scott, you may or may not know, but we play games on the
Yes.
show
Oh
sometimes.
yes.
We're
Oh
playing a
yes.
game with you right now, okay?
Yep.
It's the 5-second guesses game. We have
Uh-oh.
4 questions for you, and you have 5 seconds to name 3 things from this prompt, okay?
Okay.
All right. I'll give you a little lag time too because of the delay here. Okay, you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Name 3 places to eat in DC.
Oh, well, Ted's Bulletin is one. I like Good Stuff Eatery. It's a burger joint. And poof.
Okay, remember this was a
Okay, any
5-second
number
game.
any number of 100 steak joints. Cap
Right.
Grill. I'll give you
Okay.
Capital
Great.
Grill.
All
Okay.
right. Here's another one for you. Name 3 things you always have sitting on your desk.
I have a picture of my family. I have a rendition of an airplane. I'm a pilot, so I have a little thing that
Mhm.
I get to look at. And I have drumsticks and a practice pad.
I love it.
Yep.
That's awesome. I used to have a drumstick and practice pad too.
Yeah, in the open office environment that we have today, my neighbors are not thrilled
No.
about that. But yeah,
Put those Pro Mark drumsticks down. Okay, Scott, here's another one. Name 3 former U.S. presidents.
well, I'll give you Ronald Reagan. He came to my hometown and held a picnic when I was in 7th grade.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow. Huh.
I was the executive director of the Utah Republican Party and heavily involved
Yeah.
in George W. Bush's 2000 election.
Okay, there you
Okay.
named a second one.
That's the second. And I also was the presidential elector in 2004 and voted for his reelect. And then
Okay.
backing up, John Adams.
Okay, wonderful.
Okay. Sounds like that's turned into what are your 3 favorite
Yeah, what are
former
we
U.S.
going
presidents?
I'm sorry.
That's
sorry.
okay. No.
It was.
No,
it
no,
had.
that's a good question too. Yeah.
I thought you were looking for meaning.
No, yeah,
Well-
this was a rapid fire thing, but I love that
Sure.
you've taken it into Scott's world because we
Sorry.
love you so much.
So sorry.
Okay, last question.
Yeah.
Name 3 movies that won the Oscar for Best Picture.
Oh, The Color Purple,
Okay.
Titanic,
Yeah.
Yes.
and
Uh,
Gone with the Wind. I
there
don't know.
you go. Perfect. That was great.
I'm not a voracious consumer of media.
Yeah, I
so
know.
It may have been obvious.
We just thought it was a fun question to see
Yeah.
what
Right.
you'd say. Okay, thanks for playing that.
All right, last couple here. So, Scott, I know you've been on the pod a couple times before, so you've already talked to us about the first album you bought and music from back in your earlier days. But I'm just curious, just looking at what music you like now, do you have a favorite song or an artist that you can put on and it will always put you in a good mood?
Yes, I do. It's a band. So the Preservation Hall Jazz Band. Are you
Yes,
familiar with
I
Preservation
am.
Hall in New
Mhm.
Orleans? For some reason, and they have a propensity towards Dixieland jazz, which is a corner of kind of the maybe the originating corner of jazz. But for whatever reason, I can give you all the reasons. But Preservation Hall Jazz Band. Like
Yep.
if I need
Great answer.
to like change the channel in my brain, that's where I go.
I used to know a guy who played tuba for them.
Oh, was it Ben Chaffee?
No, this was much more recent. He was only there for a little bit.
Gotcha.
Okay, we have to ask you this again for the 3rd time. What was the last movie you watched?
As if he has time for movies
Yes,
right
yes.
now. Come on.
Yeah, it was on an airplane,
Yeah, of course.
Okay, yeah.
and I know exactly what you asked me last time, and that's the only thing that keeps popping into my head. It
Sure.
was Yacht Rock, I think. Like
Oh,
the
yeah, the documentary.
documentary on Yacht
Yeah.
Rock. But there's a million Delta. I actually, my wife and I went to Sydney, Australia, so I had 15 hours to watch everything
Oh, wow.
on Delta Airlines. And
The
so
whole catalog.
yeah, I saw the whole thing, but I couldn't tell you what it is. A League of Their Own, like it's
Oh,
they kind of had a baseball theme going, and so A League of Their Own was
Yeah.
probably the last one. Tom Hanks,
yeah.
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 that was good stuff.
There's no crying in
Good one,
baseball.
yeah.
Very good.
Awesome. Okay. All right. Well, Scott Simpson, soon to be president CEO of America's Credit Unions. Again, a big congratulations from the CU Times team. Super excited for you. Hang in there. Make sure to take care of yourself in these next few months as everything is crazy. Get
Yeah.
sleep and all that. Yeah. Thank you again so much for taking the time to join us. And we hope to have you back again in the near future.
It's
See how
been
you're
an
doing.
honor.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
we just
Yeah,
adore
absolutely.
you and we're thrilled. It's like we're sending you off to college or something.
It's
We're
a
very
little bit
happy
bigger deal
for
than that. Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
Please keep me on your list of cool things. I want to be a part of that.
Absolutely.
100%, Scott. We love you
Okay.
very much. And really,
Thank you.
best of luck to you. We're rooting
Thanks
for
so
you.
And to all of our listeners, thank you for downloading today's show. Please subscribe to Shared Accounts with CU Times and all the normal podcast places. And please make sure to share the episodes with everyone you know at work, at home. You get the drill.
Exactly. Feel free to rate us too. 5 stars. We love it. As always, thank you so much to our producer, Zach Nyeisel. Thanks, Zach. Join us again next week for a new episode of Shared Accounts with CU Times. Until then, thanks for listening.